Hello, this is Victor. I'm here to talk about the topic of the week, started by Vince Venturella, and the question is, what type of miniatures we prefer? If we prefer plastic, metal, or resin miniatures, and I will put them separately because I think each type have the advantages and disadvantages. And I will say my answer will be I want awesome miniatures. I want miniatures that are great. I want miniatures that I enjoy to paint. And to be fair, I don't care if they are resin, if they are metal, or if they are plastic. I just want something that is looking great and I enjoy painting. Historically, I will say that in the past, and I will show you some examples, the plastic was not the best. Here we have a scabbing from the past. Okay, I painted not that a lot of time ago this one because I have it in plastic for a long time. This was the standard scabbing warrior from the past. The case or the box was 10 scabbings, all the same. So this was the first plastic. Of course, in this period, most of the people was preferring metal. When the plastic was looking like that, okay, this is what we had at the same period in metal. Okay, you can see that the detail and the fineness and how it's done is much better. These two miniatures are almost from the same period. Okay, here we have a scabbing of metal, and I have to say when I started scabbing, my first objective was to do almost all the army in metal, because all the plastic that we had at the period was that. So when plastic started, or when I started, and I think this is about 20 years ago, the plastic was terrible. The plastic was really very bad. Even in Space Marines. I have some of the old Space Marines. This was the starter kit of the starter Space Marines from that period. All in the same position, all the same, very static. I don't know why. So the plastic, they were using almost the same techniques in plastic than in metal. They tried to make the piece in one, the miniature in one piece, maximum two pieces. As you can see, all these are made. Only the shield is a separate piece. It's one piece of plastic, a big block with the shield. This is just one piece of metal. Okay, what was the advantage of metal in that period is that you were able to do what is called undercuts, negative the molding. If you see, the molding direction of this is this direction and that direction. This is very flat, so the mold in this direction and the other half is the mold on the other direction. This was the technology in that period. This marine is three pieces: bolter, backpack, and the body. Why in that period the molds were so simple, the technology was not that developed, and making injection parts, plastic miniatures needs a lot of investment. So if you don't selling a lot, makes no sense to invest. Okay, so I will say in the past, yeah, metal was the awesome miniatures, and I had a lot of metal. But metal is not always good, and I think plastic today have evolved and is better than metal. I think today plastic is the way to go to make great miniatures. But I will show you some historical, and we still have some good metal. For example, this miniature is metal and have a lot of detail. It's more modern. You see, the metal have also evolved very well, and the metal can be converted. So this is just as a regular Space Marines that I did a conversion into Chaos Sorcerer, Norgal Chaos Sorcerer. Of course, I use plastic parts, and more. There was a period, a big period, where we were combining metal and plastic. So these have metal, plastic, and green stuff on top. So yeah, there was a moment that we were combining them all. And plastic was also evolving, and this was one of the first multi-kit plastic parts. These are the warriors from what is called this, the third edition Warhammer, third edition Warhammer 40k third edition. This was when appears the really first multi-part plastic. Is when they start exploring the potential of the plastic and instead of making one sprue of 10 guys like that, they were making sprues where you have bodies, where you have arms, where you have heads, all separated in parts, and then people was assembling. I think at this moment they went too far. There were so many parts and was quite difficult to assemble. Even these spikes were separated parts, this hair were separated, so there were sometimes too many parts for a starter kit, and was making the first kits were quite complex to assemble. But but the plastic keep evolving, and today we have great multi-parts in plastic. We had, for example, the example of the Imperial Guard, and you can combine. Now what plastic is giving, when we start having more and more and more kits of plastic, what this is giving is that you can take even parts from one game to another and combine. Because if the scale is quite good, you can do this type of combinations. The heads are from Fantasy, and the guys are from 40k. So when plastic start evolving, you start having more options. So then is when you start having the love of plastic. And if you look the last kits, you can see really that the last multi kits, even though you cannot combine them, so you have in plastic. This is one point that is interesting to see now. In plastic, Games Workshop is doing two things, and I put this as an example, but maybe I can put this. So we have kits that are quite flexible, like when you buy a set, like this guy. Okay, and then we have kits that are really fixed. So the starter kits, you can only assemble one position. It's easy to compare because it's easy to cut plastic, but really these guys only have, these bikes only have one position. Of course, if we compare, for example, this Space Marine with this one, you can see the paint job is also different, it's better, but you can see that the evolution that we had even on the Space Marines. Okay, and this is also from a starter kit. So I will say 15 years ago, this was not thinkable that plastic will be able to deliver this quality. What plastic also add to or bring to the hobby is all this pose, dynamism. Let me go a little bit farther in my zoom. So if you see, this is metal. You don't try to do it. You cannot get this balance. You cannot do this. The guy is just jumping out of the base. This is impossible in metal. Okay, and even this thing, you see, only this joint, this is metal, was not feasible. In metal, if you have a joint like that, it's going to break in one moment. The other problem we had a lot of metal is these things, the spears were bended, always bended. So I always have to readdress the spears, and there is one moment that they break because they bend so easily when this metal that at the end you are this was one of the big drawbacks on metal. So here we have even one of the latest miniatures from Games Workshop. This in metal was not feasible. So this is what I think plastic, and this is why I think now the plastic miniatures are taking the upper hand, because it's giving a freedom in design, in the way they can design the miniatures, in the way you can assemble the miniatures, that was impossible in metal. In metal you cannot do this. This will not hold. A bird will not hold only by this tail in metal. So this is what plastic is giving to us. Okay? Compare this. Here I just put this guy. This was quite old. But you see, a flying creature in metal have to have the 2 foot normally on ground if you want it to survive. And I can tell you, this Bloodthirster, that is all metal, even the wings are metal, and the detail is great. It's dwarf compared to the current Bloodthirster, but I will say for the period this was one of the greatest miniatures, but was really a pain to glue these wings here, to put these wings here. So I don't know, I was suffering. I was really almost throwing this through the window because I was so pissed off with the wings. Okay, but here we have another problem that we had with metal, another advantage to change to plastic, is the banners. This is, and Vince, I think he will completely agree with me, these are a very nice banner. This miniature have an hours on the tail, and I love this miniature. I cannot say anything against this miniature. I think it's one of the best Bretonians in my army, in terms of sculpt and in terms of miniatures. One of the miniatures that I love the most. Okay, but really, this banner is a pain in the ass. Okay, this banner, it's when it's not falling down, because you cannot pin it easily. You only have to believe that it's glued correctly. So it's a pain in the ass, and you can see this at the end is turned. You see, it's not straight, so it's always bended. Even the sword is a little bit bended, as you can see, and this is very typical from metal miniatures. This is what happened with the metal miniatures. I will say the miniature is great. I love this miniature, but here you can see all the limitations. And see, this is a big limitation. So when you try to do a standard bear or metal, then you have a lot of weight here, and this miniature so easily is falling down that I don't know how many times this miniature have fallen down. And the main reason is fall down because all the weight is here. When they change to plastic, of course, they also fall down. The first plastic banners, and I will show you some. Here we have two banners. It's so easy that this is so typical. It's plastic, but the advantage is that this is having with plastic. There are no consequences. This guy is always... Okay, these guys are also quite unstable. But the advantage is not the same on plastic than on metal. Here we see, and also this was one of the first banners, and I think they went far too thick on plastic. So I don't know if these are one of the first. I think they were way to improve here, okay? Because even in metal, if you take, now I will take, this piece is a brick, okay? This guy is really heavy. This all metal, I have the metal version, then they did the fine cast. The banners went a little bit thinner. This in metal, no problems. It's Nargo, if you have a gap, you can fill it quite easily, and it's quite a solid stand on the base. And yeah, the only problem of this is really the weight. But I think this is one kit that in metal, in plastic, will not make a big difference for me. Okay? These are the type of miniatures. The other thing that we have, and then I know that the comparisons are... Sometimes the comparisons are not fair, but I will do the next comparison. In front of you now you have two army centerpieces. This is what we were using with metal. These were the sizes we were using metal. Then we had the plastic dragons that they were plastic body with metal on top. That make I will show you what I mean. Yeah. Although the metal miniature is newer, this is made later, is casted later, because if you look the first lower Lencore, yeah, it's really terrible, the sculpt. They really, with this one, they really improve the monster. But in the first, this was one of the first plastic monsters that we have from Games Workshop. And I think they invest at the beginning on the dragon. But compare all this on what the technology on the plastic kits bring to us. This is what, and this is why we have on the Pinnacle, and then we can put next to this Archon or any other thing. So this is where this is evolution of the miniature. So we had this was the old school metal. This was the fine metal. So I would say this was one when metal was doing well. We had some old miniatures on metal that were terrible. These were when they started. They did some of the first. This was one of the first kits on plastic. So in that period, I will say, I don't know what is better, okay, between the metal and the plastic. But now, when we arrive to the Star Trek, I think there is no question. And even if you compare to the dragon from the High Elf, that is just standing from the tail, you realize that yeah, there is a really important evolution. And this evolution is only achievable if you go to full plastic. I will go to resin. I did some resin kits. Here I just will put a small miniature, okay? Resin for me, it's in between metal and plastic at this moment. Resin used to be for a while the best quality, and this is why Forge Wall was using more plastic than metal. There is two reasons. First, on resin you can go for big kits. They will be heavy because they are heavier than the plastic kits, because they cannot be, the plastic kits are have void inside, are not full of plastic. The resin, they are really a solid piece of resin. Normally they are not, they are completely like a block. This is why they are more heavy. And resin have a couple of issues for me. First is that the molder, you have to be very careful and wash very well the miniature. If not, you can have problems to stick the primer on the base. And then gluing, also you have to be careful, because you cannot use plastic glue on resin. You have to use super glue like in metal, and you have the same problems that you will have in metal. The only advantage is that the weight is much lower. But what I like it a lot from plastic, and if you from metal, resin. If you compare, and I can take one ordinary right? If you compare what the resin was giving to the modeling, is that they can go to very thin, fine detail that have not been achieved until the last, I will say, until the last 2-3 years, when Games Workshop is able to do thin parts. Okay, but if you look resin, this was quite an old miniature, maybe 10 years old. Look, in resin they were able to go to very thin parts. The drawback is these parts were very easily to break, and as you see, I break this one. But they were able to do really thin parts, highly detailed, tiny parts. You see, these details were not achievable in metal, and were hard to achieve in plastic. Today plastic is getting closer. I think resin still have a little bit more of sharpness of detail in detail, okay? And I think this is what I will say, a summary, just as a summary. I will say in the past metal was for me better. And you see, one of the old miniatures in metal was pretty, this is a 20 years old miniature. This is still a very good miniature today. So today will not look outdated, okay? Plastic, we have seen the evolution from the first plastic, okay, to what we do today. So today plastic have evolved a lot. Metal have not changed too much since then. You see, if you look, just here I just put one character against a normal troop, but you see the evolution is not that big. And you have always these problems. You see this hammer have been bended. Metal had always a problem of these tiny parts, where they were able to do tiny parts, but they were breaking very easily, or bending very easily. Okay, so I would say metal, they arrived to the limit of the technology, and they did not evolve. And this white metal today is not the best way to do. The best quality today is achieved in resins, because I think resin still have some fine detail, some crisp detail that is not that easy to get in plastic. Okay, but I think today the technology to go is really the plastic. It's easy to assemble, and is where we have the most today. The most awesome miniatures, I will say, most of them are on plastic. And because plastic is giving you some ability, some technology. This tail, for example, even this Star Trek that looks quite static on the ground, this tail that is not touching the ground, this was not feasible in metal. Even the tail will, by weight, will start bending down and will end up touching the ground over time, because metal is heavy. And I know I had a miniature that was standing not like that, and at the end you realize that the part start bending down until it's touching the base, and then it's not bending more. Okay, so this is all what I want to talk. So summary, awesome miniatures. In the past you get them from metal. 10 years ago resin make a step forward, and resin was the best quality, and I think this is why Games Workshop tried the Finecast. I never understand why Games Workshop were able to do these outstanding miniatures on Forge World, and they did not repeat the same recipe to do the Finecast. I never get that, because the same company was able to do one of the best miniatures and one of the biggest flops. Okay, but today plastic is allowing you to do things like this guy that is almost not touching the ground. It's giving the ability to do these great miniatures. Okay, and even this guy is just touching the ground with 1 foot. This was not feasible in metal, and when they were doing that in metal, the miniature started bending in one direction or the other. At the end, this was always broken from this point. And that's all what I want to talk about. Maybe I've been a little bit too long, but I wanted to show you that not always been what we have today have been the best. In the past was metal, then was resin, and today I think plastic is the way to go. Pros and cons from company point of view. The investment to do a plastic miniature is much higher than making a metal miniature, because to have the mold and the machine to inject that is very expensive. So although the plastic is cheap material, the investment you need is huge. It's huge, much bigger than in metal. This is why some small companies companies that are starting, they start with resin, and some start with metal because it's much cheaper to start. The raw material is more expensive, but the investment you need to do is very low. When you have a big volume like Games Workshop, like War Machine, or Privateer Press, that maybe Melfo or Weird Games, I would say, then when you start having big volume, this is why it makes sense to invest on plastic, because you have to invest a lot, but then the manufacturability goes down, and you have to recover the investment in the first miniatures. And this is why at the beginning Games Workshop tried to do Finecast, because it was something that is for characters, or for mainly for characters or miniatures that have low rotation. Resin and metal makes more sense because the investment is low, but you don't need to sell a lot of miniatures to recover the money that you're investing. So yeah, I think that's all what I want to show you. I just displayed a lot of different examples. I hope this was explanatory, was interesting for you. And yeah, what we want is awesome miniatures, and to be fair, I don't care if they are made of metal, plastic or resin, although the only objective is to enjoy painting them and to enjoy playing them. That's all for now. Please leave your opinion below. As I said, this was the topic of the week. You will find the link to the Vince Venturella channel also in the description below, and I will link this to the original video from Vince Venturella. Leave your like if you have liked this explanation, and share. And yeah, and that's all for now. As usual, thanks a lot for watching, and see you again later. Bye.